Welcome to Garden Wise Adventures. My name is Malie, and today it's time for another episode of What's Blooming in My Water-Wise Gardens. And we are at the end of July. There's been several things that you've missed and a lot of things that have started blooming. So let's start with what you've missed and show you all the blooms that have gone by so far. Now that we've showed you a little bit about what you've missed, let's show you what's blooming in my garden right now. July is a wonderful time for blooms, and I'm really excited to show you what we have. So once again, we're going to start on the south side of my garden, and it is actually time for butterfly bushes. Now these are Pugster butterfly bush. They have huge blooms. Let me show you my hand so you can kind of see how big they are. They are big blooms. The bees and the butterflies love them, and they are going to bloom until probably frost comes. Now I have two varieties. This one's called Amethyst, and I don't like it as much as I like the Pugster Blue. Let me show you Pugster Blue. Now this is Pugster Blue. As you can see, it's got a long blossom still, but it's not as fat as the Amethyst. It's a darker blue color, and this plant is quite a bit smaller. And now it is smaller because this winter we had an issue with losing butterfly bushes. I've talked to a lot of people who say that their butterfly bushes that don't usually die to the ground died to the ground this year, and that's what happened to this one. Let me show you the size difference between one that died to the ground and one that didn't. So this is one that did not die to the ground. And isn't it glorious? I absolutely love this bush. And the bees and the butterflies love it too. It's about 2.5 feet tall right now. And this is about as tall as it will get. So if it doesn't die back in the winter, you can cut it back to keep it on the smaller side. Now over here, we have a fun new one that's blooming. This right here is a hardy glad. So supposedly these glads will come back year after year. Most glads are not hardy in Utah zone 6/7. That's where I live. I live in Utah. But this one is hardy. It's really quite pretty. Now, one issue we did have is the grasshoppers seem to absolutely love these plants, and they ate several of them almost to the ground. But this one survived. Let me go show you another area where the same glad survived. On the way over, let's show you the sad grouping. You can really see how badly they were eaten, and these will not flower this year, but I'm hoping they'll come back and flower next year. We also had the same issue over here, but it didn't happen as badly. Now this group started blooming a little bit earlier than the last one, so it's almost done, but we got a lot of blooms on this. You can still see the grasshopper damage down here. They really, really seem to want to eat these. But the flowers are really, really pretty. Now it's also the time of year for the black-eyed Susans. I absolutely love my black-eyed Susans. These are two that I transplanted from under my peach tree down to here. And we've got another group under one of my blue spruce. Let me go show you those. Now this area back here has always had black-eyed Susans, but as the plants get larger, it's starting to get more and more shaded, and they don't really like the shade. Let me see if they're peeking out the other side on the south side. So we have a few more coming out on the south side here. They're looking a little drought-stricken. Maybe they got hit with some herbicide, because they're right next to a lawn. But they're not looking so great. So what I think I'm going to do is over here in this open spot on the west side, I'm going to plant a few more and see how they do. Now another one of my favorite plants that is blooming is one that I thought for sure I lost earlier this spring. This is my chase tree. Now last year this was a 10-foot tall shrub with a lot of beautiful branching to it. I'd been selectively pruning it so that it looked beautiful, but it died completely to the ground. It was a hard winter on it, and I cut it down to probably about a 6-inch tall stump and left the stump, and lo and behold, it grew back from that stump. Now it's a little unruly looking. I do like how it looks with this moonshine yarrow. It's really quite pretty. The bees and butterflies love it. We actually had a monarch butterfly visiting it yesterday. And this seems to attract a lot of the beneficial insects. I don't know if you can see them buzzing around, but there's a lot of parasitic wasps and parasitic flies that come through here. See this guy? He's really cute. There's a lot of these guys that look like hornets, but they're not. They are parasitic wasps or parasitic flies. I'm not sure what variety they are, but they're really, really cute. So as we mentioned, another thing that is continuously blooming is my moonshine yarrow. This seems to have a really, really long bloom time. So another one that seems to bloom continuously is the pine leaf penstemon. I absolutely love those. Let me go show you another larger one. Look how much this has grown and how beautiful it is, and the hummingbirds love it. Now I'm done with the lavender. The lavender did bloom beautifully, but I've had to cut it back. As I've had to cut back all the lilies, but I think I missed this one. So the lilies are done. But another one of my favorites is over here. Look how beautiful this group of purple coneflower is. So this is echinacea, purple cone flower, another favorite of the bees and the pollinators, but it's a really overcast evening and the pollinators aren't out as much. But these are gorgeous and they will bloom for another couple of weeks and then they'll be done. Another one that continuously blooms is my sweet alyssum. These are very drought tolerant and I talk about them a lot, but they're one of my very favorite flowers to have in my front yard. The beneficials love them, the pollinators love them, they're drought tolerant, and they just keep going. Now another one that is blooming right now that I think I'm going to just be getting rid of most of them is my daylilies. This is a red returns daylily. This one might stay, I don't know, we'll see, but let me show you what the other ones look like. Now I don't know what this variety is, but this is what it looks like every year. It looks half dead, it blooms a little bit, and it only blooms for a short time. And I really don't think it's worth keeping. So this one is going to get dug out, as is my yellow one, which is a happy returns. So I've decided I just really don't like daylilies and they're going to be removed, which is going to open up space for something else, and I haven't decided what yet. Another one that just has not quit blooming are my beautiful little sundancer daisies. They just keep going and going, and they've actually reseeded themselves, and the ones that reseeded themselves are starting to bloom already. And my zauschinaria, or hummingbird trumpet, has finally started to bloom. This is another one that the hummingbirds love. It's really a pretty little plant, and it spreads quite well too. Which brings us to another one of my favorite ones. This is the drops of Jupiter oregano, and these are the pink blooms on it. I think they are a really beautiful plant. My mountain mist pom-pom dianthus is still blooming. You can see how many blooms we've had that have died. I have not deadheaded it yet, but I guess it probably would need to be deadheaded a little bit to look cleaner, but I haven't done it. And look at this guy. He is gorgeous. Got a big native bee. This might be a carpenter bee, I'm not sure which one it is. But he's enjoying my agastachian. I think this one's Sonoran Sunset. Such a beautiful flower. Hummingbirds love it, bees love it, and I love it. And it smells a little bit like licorice, so I absolutely love it. Another unusual one that's blooming is my germander. These are gorgeous little plants. The deer ate them to the ground over the winter, but they came back and they are blooming. Got another one over here that's got its little pink blooms, and I love it. Another one that's blooming is my hostas. The blooms smell terrific. I absolutely love those. And my hydrangeas. These are endless summer hydrangea macrophylla. Now normally they don't do really well in Utah, but if you give them a good amount of water, mulch them heavily, and keep them with morning sun and afternoon shade, and they will bloom for you beautifully. I've got one more of these. And he's right here. Now these type of hydrangeas, they'll change their bloom color according to the acidity of the soil. So if I put ammonium sulfate on these in the spring, they would turn purple. They don't turn a complete blue because our soil is so alkaline that we can't get it acidic enough to keep them blue. But this year it's absolutely gorgeous. Another thing that I found that hydrangeas need in the state of Utah is chelated iron in both the spring and the fall, and that makes a huge difference. And then last but not least, my little ground cover plumbago. Ceratostigma plumbaganoides, I think is the scientific name. These have a gorgeous, just deep blue color to them. They'll spread quite well, and their foliage is going to turn red in October. So I absolutely love these, and I love the beautiful little flowers on them. That color is so gorgeous. And this is a really harsh area for plants to try and grow. It's under my spruce tree that the deer ate and killed the undergrowth of it. But they are starting to spread, even though it's really, really dry and really, really harsh. and they're flowering. We've got another little guy over here. This one was new this year. So this is what my waterwise garden looks like in zone 6/7 in Utah at the end of July. So before we leave, I'm just going to give you a quick walkthrough so you can see an overview of what my front yard looks like all together. So I would also love to hear what's blooming in your yard right now. I'd especially love to know if you're in Utah and you have other things that are blooming this time of year. So hopefully this video has been helpful to you. If it has been helpful, I hope you like, subscribe, share it with your friends, and go have a wonderful garden adventure.